leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. First tonight, online arrest records confirm that Elliot Cutler was arrested again today, just after 2 p.m. by Maine Probation and Parole. He is currently being held at the Penobscot County Jail without bail. The DA's office confirmed Cutler has been taken into custody. His lawyer, Walter McKee, tells us Cutler was arrested for failing to sign a probation treatment plan document that had internet restrictions McKee says were, quote, completely inconsistent with what the court specifically ordered last week. McKee told us if in fact that is the case, the alleged violation will be, quote, hotly contested, as he put it. A Bangor man charged in connection with the 2024 death of his 10-year-old son has pleaded guilty to murder. This comes just days ahead of his anticipated trial. Our Grace Blanchard has details.
Bangor father Joshua Smith has pleaded guilty to murdering his 10-year-old son, Braxton Smith, changing his plea just days before his trial was set to begin.
Do you understand the charge, sir?
Yes.
And how would you like to plead? Guilty plea is entered.
The 35-year-old originally pleaded not guilty in July 2024. Braxton Smith died in February 2024 after suffering months of abuse and neglect, according to court records. At a hearing on Tuesday, Smith asked to change his plea to not guilty by reason of insanity. But Thursday morning in Penobscot County Court, the defendant pleaded guilty to depraved indifference murder. Smith is now the second family member charged in Braxton's death to enter a guilty plea. Jem Bean, Braxton's mother, previously pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Joshua Smith's mother and Braxton's grandmother, Misty LaTourette, is also charged with murder in connection to the child's death. She previously pleaded not guilty and requested a bench trial.
Jen Bean would testify that they made Braxton sleep in the bathroom with no more than a blanket, his ankles zip tied to a tote, and his hands zip tied behind his back.
According to Assistant Attorney General Leanne Robin, the abuse went unnoticed because Braxton was homeschooled by his father and grandmother. When he died in the hospital on February 18th, he was only 48 pounds and was bruised, emaciated, and burned. The judge accepted Smith's plea. The maximum possible sentence is life in prison. The state and Smith's defense attorneys did not wish to comment. While no sentencing date has been set, Smith is expected to learn his sentence towards the end of September. The trial of Misty LaTourette will begin next week. In Bangor, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Fire marshals are investigating the cause of a house fire in Indian Township. About 8 p.m. on June 9th, the Indian Township Fire Department responded to a structure fire at 19 Wolf Drive. A spokesperson from the office says when crews arrived, they found an active fire in the living room that had spread into the kitchen area. No one was home at the time, and no injuries were reported. The spokesperson says State Fire Marshal investigators were on the scene most of Wednesday. She says they determined the fire started in the living room near a couch, but the exact cause could not be determined. The investigation remains ongoing. Well, switching gears now, Maine's primary election is moving to the next stage, which means it's the beginning of campaigning for independents like gubernatorial candidate Rick Bennett. He kicked off his Let's Get to Work tour at Gagan's Pub this evening for a meet and greet with voters. Bennett says he's running to unify both major political parties, and a more affordable Maine is top of mind for him. With ranked choice tabulation still pending, it's unclear who Bennett will be up against in November. He says he hopes to encourage voters to look beyond partisan politics when they get to the polls.
And I know I'm running as an independent because I want to govern as an independent, and that means being inclusive and collaborative and communicative. All those words that are not, you don't hear much in politics these days, but we need to bring that back. We're going to fix our broken politics, and that's the goal of my campaign and the goal of my governorship.
Bennett will be holding more meet and greet opportunities across the state. Maine's 2026 primary ballots are now surrounded by armed police and ready for a ranked choice recount. Police wheeled locked metal boxes filled with ballots from all around the state into the public safety building in Augusta today. By Maine law, only police can handle ballots for transport. The ranked choice tabulation process will get started tomorrow, and the Secretary of State's office says people can watch the process live on YouTube.
You can see how boring it really is, but what they'll see is that people are uploading data from the memory sticks to hardened machines that are never connected to the internet as well, and that we're hand counting paper ballots.
That ranking runoff starts at 1 o'clock, but the process is expected to take several days, and the state is hoping to have results by June 19th. The races for governor on the Democratic and Republican side will both be ranked, as well as the Democratic primary for Maine's 2nd congressional district. No candidate in any of those races won more than 50% of the vote. And with the start of that ranked choice tabulation tomorrow, our Doug Banks spoke with a political expert today to learn more about how the process could change the current primary election standings.
The Secretary of State's office announced on Wednesday that several major primary races in Maine will be decided by ranked choice voting tabulation after no candidate secured 50% of first-place votes. Those races include the Democratic and Republican gubernatorial races and the Democratic 2nd congressional district race.
This election will be really interesting in terms of ranked choice voting because we did have 3 candidates in the governor's race encourage their supporters to rank some of their opponents, second and third. Troy Jackson, Shannon Bellows, and Hannah Pingree. And where we'll really be able to test that and see if voters listen to their advice is once those tabulations happen.
As of Thursday evening, Senator Joel Baldacci leads the Democratic CD2 race with over 2,000 votes.
Confident that we're going to win in the end. We ran very strong statewide. Almost every single town in the 2nd district I came in either first or second, so we had a statewide reach that some of the others didn't, so I'm optimistic about the process.
Glover explained with us why candidates across their respective races and ranked in their respective places remain confident leading up to the tabulation process.
When those redistributions happen, the rankings of the candidates and their percentage of the vote share can change pretty dramatically. So weirdly enough, whoever's in last place and whoever their voters voted for the second choice can dramatically upend where the rankings are.
The ranked choice tabulation process begins Friday at 1 p.m. The Secretary of State's office says the process is open to the public and will be live streamed on their YouTube page. They also expect it to be completed prior to the Juneteenth holiday. Doug Banks reporting for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
In other news, meteorologists say El Nino has formed in a warmed-up Pacific Ocean. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, confirmed today that an El Nino has begun to form, and it has the potential to grow in historic strength. Experts with NOAA say that there's a 63% chance that the El Nino could get so strong this late fall and early winter that it could beat records dating back to the mid-1900s.
It's checking a lot of the boxes, even at this earlier time, or forecast lead. Things could always change, but right now, it's checking all the boxes for it evolving into being one of the historically strong events since 1950.
And keeping with the weather now, let's pause for a first look at our forecast.
Thank you, Beth. Our first weather tonight is brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes, now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote at 207-263-3421. All right, as you saw for today, it was nice and toasty out there, mid to upper 80s across the state. Bangor at 86, 88 in Millinocket, same for Presque Island. You also saw 89 in Freiburg for today, but there was a sea breeze out there keeping you in the mid to upper 70s for Rockland and Bar Harbor. But for tonight, we can see a few isolated showers staying north of town, mainly for the northern tier of the state. They can have a few rumbles of thunder early in the morning as well, but we got more showers and thunderstorms in the forecast for tomorrow afternoon. This model shows it just north of town, but I do think we can still get a few more of those showers and thunderstorms here in Bangor going into tomorrow afternoon as well. So looking at overnight tonight, the thunder is out of here. We're going to stay pretty dry for the rest of the night, except up north. They got a few showers to get through, but looking at lows staying warm tonight in the low to mid 60s. Beth?
Chase, thank you so much, and there is more local news ahead. Stay with us.
Purple Co is open and here to stay. Come join a growing community of like-minded people with monthly events, arts and concerts, daily deals, and the best products and prices in the state. Plus, don't miss Purple Co Bangor's annual party on 4/18. Now with 4 locations from Portland to Bangor. Come check us out today.
We invited passionate soccer fans to push Nissan vehicles to the limit, just like they do with their teams. Further proof that the Nissan lineup is tested and trusted by the toughest. Hurry in to bring home a winning offer at the Nissan Summer Sales Event.
Now well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on select model trims or get up to $4,750 total savings on Frontier.
Maine may be a small state, but we face big challenges, and Senator Susan Collins delivers solutions. When our veterans were left out in the cold, Susan Collins secured $3.6 million to help end veteran homelessness. And Collins co-sponsored the bill to protect military spouses' survivor benefits and provide rural veterans access to VA facilities. With her dedication, Susan Collins secures victories time and again for our veterans. Tell Senator Susan Collins to keep championing solutions for Maine's veterans.
When the morning light hits Maine, start your day with a good morning, Maine. Craig Colson, Janessa Bishop, by your side, bringing the stories that matter statewide. Local news and the forecast ahead. Wake up informed, ready to go on ABC 7 and Fox 22.
Purple Co is open and here to stay. Come join a growing community of like-minded people with monthly events, arts and concerts, daily deals, and the best products and prices in the state. Plus, don't miss Purple Co Bangor's annual party on 4/18. Now with 4 locations from Portland to Bangor. Come check us out today.
People in Jay and Wilton voted overwhelmingly in favor of keeping their individual police departments. 62% of voters in Jay and 58% of voters in Wilton want the departments left as is, despite the constant struggle to keep them fully staffed. Brad Rogers reports.
I think it's just a good read on what the town prioritizes and where they want to go.
Jay Police Chief Joe Sage says despite the majority vote to keep things as is, some Jay and Wilton voters supported merging the police departments in some fashion, and some thought the town should contract with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office for coverage. Because Tuesday's vote was non-binding, those options can still be considered.
It still leaves us open for discussion. We can continue to work on, maybe exploring other options or even circling back and maybe having some more discussions with the community later on down the road.
And the whole purpose of looking at this was to find an economic balance between Jay and Wilton and to be able to get the amount of coverage that we were lacking in some instances.
Jay Select Board member Gary McGrain says the vote makes sense. Families in Jay and Wilton know their officers, and the officers know their towns.
They know the community. They know where the dangers are, if you will, for the coverage that we're looking for.
Right now, Jay and Wilton are each down 1 officer.
We don't have, extra personnel just standing on standby.
Filling those vacancies is not easy.
And there's just not enough new police officers coming through to be able to keep fully staffed for very long.
The Jay Town manager says too often officers leave Jay and Wilton for higher paying jobs.
The reason for this, even being discussed was the challenges that both departments have been facing with manpower.
She and the chief say if police shortages continue in Maine, it's only a matter of time before towns have no choice but to regionalize the police.
I think regionalization is the way that especially communities are going to adopt to try to handle some of those staffing issues.
That was Brad Rogers reporting. Meanwhile, a popular marina in Bucksport has been saved by the community. Our Sam Miller explains.
Through the efforts from a newly formed yacht club and the local community, the Bucksport Marina has been saved and is open for the season. The town council recently finalized a municipal budget which keeps the marina operational, even while cutting seasonal waterfront positions. The yacht club's hands-on efforts included putting the floats into the water in the spring, painting the dock entryway, and driving traffic and revenue through memberships. Harbor Master Michael Ormsby says he's optimistic about what future steps will look like.
In the future, I hope that they get together with other yacht clubs and exchange travels. That way we'll get more transient vessels coming into town. Right now, the biggest yacht club I have coming here every year is Portsmouth Yacht Club. They usually bring about 14 boats for a weekend. So it all brings money to town.
The marina at the downtown waterfront has been owned by the town for nearly a decade. It overlooks the historic Fort Knox and Penobscot Narrows Bridge. Community and Economic Director Richard Rotella says the work of the yacht club in the community highlights how important the marina is to the town.
It's another way to connect with the public, whether or not they're residents who also reside here on their boats, or people from upriver, Bangor, Hamden area who are looking at a place. They all bring with them that opportunity to visit our businesses and provide a boost to our businesses during the summer and fall season.
Ormsby and Rotella say they expect a busy summer, with boaters set to arrive from across the state. In Bucksport, Sam Miller, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Municipal Waste Hub announced today that Municipal Waste Solutions Advanced Processing Facility in Hamden is exceeding expectations during its initial ramp-up phase. That facility was shut down in 2020, but operations resumed on April 30th. They say since then, the facility has steadily increased its runtime and processing capacity. A statement says as of June 10th, the facility is operating at approximately 90% efficiency, achieving just over 6 hours of continuous runtime per shift, while surpassing projected recovery rates from metals, cardboard, and feedstock. It says the facility is on track to have all 115 Waste Hub member communities fully integrated in July. Coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, we have your national headlines.
Ready to create your backyard oasis? Alexander's Professional Landscaping will work with you to create your perfect outdoor space. Work one-on-one with our landscape designer to create a unique garden to fit your family's personal aesthetics and lifestyle. Have our pros install your new lawn, garden, or patio. Schedule a consultation today by calling 573-4497. Alexander's Professional Landscaping, the way landscaping should be.
Whether you're hurt by a landscaping truck like this, a work van like this, or any commercial vehicle, we know how to get you the big money you may deserve.
Hurt by a commercial vehicle? Call the twos. We win for you.
All right, so guys, just smile and say, switch to T-Mobile in just 15 minutes and get an iPhone 17 on them.
Switch to T-Mobile in 15 minutes and
What they're trying to say is you can switch to T-Mobile and get iPhone 17 on us. No trade-in needed.
Why can't we just say cheese?
Okay, cheese.
Plus, T-Mobile customers had the lowest wireless bills versus the other big guys over the past 5 years.
I'm switching and saving. I'm switching and saving.
It's a big, big deal. Summer is a big deal at Toyota.
Come to Toyota's Big Deal Summer Event, where you could get a deal like an affordable $205 a month lease on a designed-to-wow fuel-sipping Corolla gas sedan with an $11,174 total contract cost. Summer's a big deal at Toyota, the longest-lasting brand with the best resale value. So see your New England Toyota dealer.
It's a big deal.
Toyota, let's go places.
I'm Deborah Norville, and this is The Perfect Line. Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals. By the way,
I have no idea.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
President Trump says a very strong memorandum of understanding has been agreed to with Iran and should be finalized within days. This comes after the president called off another round of retaliatory strikes against the Islamic Republic following the downing of a U.S. military helicopter. Fox's Mark Meredith is at the White House.
We just made a great settlement of the war with Iran.
Tonight, President Trump says a deal to end the war in Iran is close. The news follows a day filled with threats, as Trump himself warned massive airstrikes were hours away.
We have a deal that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, which was the whole purpose of what we had to go through to get this. So it was a big, very big thing. But we have a signing soon, and the documents are in pretty final shape, so we'll see.
The president claims Iran is ready to abandon its nuclear program. Iran has spent months telling the world that's non-negotiable.
Have you actually secured an agreement on the discussions about the nuclear material and the nuclear negotiations?
Yes, conceptually on that, and nobody's getting close to it because it's buried under a mountain.
Democrats say the president's on and off again threats show he has no exit strategy.
Iran is stronger now, and everybody in the world knows it because of their control of the Strait of Hormuz, which was not the case before Donald Trump started this war.
The president says a deal may be signed within a matter of days, with Vice President Vance representing the U.S. Trump is scheduled to visit Europe next week, meeting leaders from G7 countries. The trip comes amid a new effort to confirm a director of national intelligence. Trump says he's nominating Jay Clayton, the top federal prosecutor in New York's Southern District. Clayton previously served as chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and lawmakers, including Republicans, revolted over Trump's earlier decision to name Bill Pulte, a top housing official and Trump ally, for the job. Critics claim Pulte had no experience. He's expected to remain as acting DNI until Clayton is confirmed. Pulte is temporarily taking over for Tulsi Gabbard, who resigned. She leaves next week. And not too far from the White House, an investigation is underway into who vandalized the National Mall, appearing to put the numbers 8647 into the grass near the World War II memorial. 86 is restaurant slang for killing or axing something, but it's also become a sign of protest against the 47th president, President Trump. At the White House, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Well, as you just heard, President Trump nominated Jay Clayton as the next National Intelligence Director. Trump, who called Clayton, quote, very highly respected on Truth Social today, urging the Senate to confirm Clayton to the position. Clayton is currently the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. He's also the former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. The announcement coming after backlash following Trump's appointment of Bill Pulte, replacing Tulsi Gabbard following her resignation. And with President Trump nominating Jay Clayton as his next DNI, the question is, will this help passage of an extension for a key intelligence surveillance tool? Fox's chief congressional correspondent Chad Pergram has the latest from Capitol Hill.
The World Cup, America 250, and war with Iran, a nightmare national security hat trick, as Congress fails to renew the nation's premier anti-terrorism tool.
This program goes dark at a time when there are literally hundreds of thousands of people coming to this country for the World Cup.
The House blocked a temporary extension of FISA Section 702.
Anybody who votes no on this bill is voting to undermine America's national security. It's a reckless no vote if anybody casts it.
But the GOP majority failed to muster even 200 yeas for the bill, as 19 Republicans bolted.
The Fourth Amendment is not a suggestion. We have to have a warrant.
Still, Republicans claim that Democratic resistance puts the country at risk.
They are willing to jeopardize the safety and the security of the American people to make a cheap political point.
Do Democrats not lose sleep at night if, God forbid, there's something that happens with FISA turned off?
Donald Trump should lose sleep because Donald Trump decided he wants to elevate Bill Pulte, who is nothing more than a malignant political hack.
The installation of Bill Pulte as acting DNI scuttled a fragile bipartisan compromise to renew FISA. However, Democrats offered a solution.
All he has to do is say, I'm replacing Pulte.
The president nominated Jay Clayton for DNI moments after most lawmakers left the Capitol for the week. This guarantees a FISA lapse.
But if there was a path that, I've never been a big fan of Tulsi Gabbard, but that Tulsi Gabbard would stay in place until Mr. Clayton was confirmed, we have a path out.
The president says Pulte will take office and hand over the role to Clayton if confirmed. But Fox is told that happens after Pulte guts DNI. This torches any deal with Democrats to extend FISA. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
The man accused of stalking and murdering a top Minnesota Democratic lawmaker has pleaded guilty to all federal charges. Vance Bolter was charged in last year's shooting deaths of Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark Hortman at their home. Authorities say he posed as a police officer and drove a fake squad car during the murders. Bolter also shot a state senator and his wife, both of whom survived. His guilty plea means he avoids the death penalty.
It's a solemn but important day in Minnesota law enforcement, and I think we can all be gratified that a very good result happened in this case. Thanks for coming.
Bolter's plea means he will serve 2 life terms plus 40 years. He also faces state charges in the attack. And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, we'll have more of your national news. Then later, the latest in sports and your full forecast. Stay with us.
Friday, the Stars and Stripes kick off their World Cup dream. It all begins with a 3-hour pregame special on Fox.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails of quality holistic medicine.
Graham Plattner called rural Maine stupid and racist.
You're calling me stupid and racist?
Who says something like that?
Plattner said cops are bastards, all of them. Graham Plattner has no respect for law enforcement.
Graham Plattner said some lobstermen are absolutely terrible people.
Graham Plattner, you got it absolutely wrong.
It disgusts me.
Graham Plattner would be a big embarrassment for me.
I would never vote for Graham Plattner.
Graham Plattner? No way.
Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Family owned and operating in the Bangor area for more than 10 years. Crosby's Welding is here to help you. We specialize in steel, stainless steel, and aluminum welding and fabrication. We serve many of the local industries from Maine lobstermen to the commercial trucking industry and everything in between. Fully mobile on-site construction services right down to custom signs and fire pits. Fast, friendly, reliable service. Give us a call today for a free estimate, 974-7815.
On the road, broadcasting the news at 6, live from the Whoopie Pie Festival in Dover Foxcroft, is brought to you by Belly of the Beast, home of the Texas-style dark bark, where brisket is sliced in front of you. Come to the Center Theater in downtown Dover Foxcroft for great concerts, plays, movies, and more, celebrating 20 years in 2026. Moosehead Motorsports, providing sales and service for Can-Am ATVs, Sea-Doo personal watercrafts, and Ski-Doo snowmobiles.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails of quality holistic medicine.
A hot-button issue in the U.S. takes a violent turn in Northern Ireland after a stabbing attack in Belfast. Fox's senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott reports from London.
Chaos in Northern Ireland as anti-immigration protests consume the streets.
People are rightly sickened by the horrific attack.
A 30-year-old man from Sudan is accused in a stabbing attack Monday night. Officials say the suspect came to Northern Ireland in 2023. He applied for asylum, was given a 5-year permit to stay.
Any foreign national who abuses the hospitality of this country to commit crime should be in no doubt of our determination to deport them.
Since the attack, outrage among residents concerned about Europe's immigration laws. Homes have been torched.
I was in the house with my dog and I had to escape through the back door.
And protesters met with water cannons.
It's horrific. It's like a war zone, as you can see.
Officials speaking out against the violence as the EU hammers out new, stricter rules regarding immigration.
Let me be clear, Mr. Speaker. The acts of violence and arson that followed are totally unjustified.
The immigration controversy striking a nerve in the U.S., where officials have also criticized British immigration policies.
They feel like that maybe the administration and their politicians doesn't have their back. The American people know that President Trump and this administration has their back.
And Elon Musk tweeted about the protest, writing in part, quote, "Only by protesting repeatedly and loudly will there be any change." As for the stabbing suspect, he remains behind bars. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
Back on Capitol Hill, President Trump is pressing lawmakers to send him another reconciliation bill packed with his policy priorities. But Republican leaders say that's not going to happen before the midterms. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson has more from the White House.
House Republicans finally put the finishing touches on a reconciliation bill funding ICE and Border Patrol. And now the president wants another one. He's calling on lawmakers to pass a bill funding his plans to beef up America's armed forces, writing on social media, quote, "No games, no delays, and no weak compromises. Do this ASAP. This is a generational investment in our military." But he also wants the Save America Act included, and that makes it a non-starter for the Republican leadership.
Even under reconciliation, it has to be principally about budget and not policy. And Save America would not be at a 51 vote threshold.
Other rank-and-file lawmakers were more blunt in their assessments.
I want a third reconciliation bill, but I also want a Porsche for my birthday, and I'm not likely to get it.
But in the House, some Republicans are still pushing for the bill, claiming it's the best way to address their budget and policy priorities.
We're going to need reconciliation to fund the troops, and then there are some pieces of health care and housing, of the affordability or unaffordability legacy from the Joe Biden era that we can address as well.
Meanwhile, Democrats say it's a waste of time and money, and they'll make that a big issue in the upcoming midterm elections.
Our colleagues on the other side of the aisle are going to be forced to explain their votes to waste tax dollars while failing to lower the costs that families are facing.
The president's proposed reconciliation bill is expected to cost $350 billion. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
The Commodity Futures Trading Commission unveiled a sweeping proposal which could shape the future of prediction markets in the U.S. Fox's Connor Hansen has more.
Highly popular prediction markets could soon be under new guidelines, according to the Trump administration's latest proposal.
We are seeing a real influx of new contracts on sports, politics, and just about everything else. We're setting clear rules and guidelines.
The Commodity Futures Trading Commission wants to oversee what type of events can be wagered on. Trades on assassinations, war, and terrorism would be prohibited, but other areas like sports betting, business, and geopolitical events are in the gray zone, especially transactions on tough topics like athlete injuries, fighting, and referee calls. The CFTC is trying to develop guidelines about what contracts are fair and which are harmful or easily manipulated.
When exchanges certify those contracts with us, how we're going to evaluate what's in the public interest, which is what our statute requires.
CFTC Chairman Michael Seelig emphasized the agency's commitment to establishing clear rules and new national standards for contracts in the U.S. after many states rejected the online platforms, arguing they offer workarounds to state gambling restrictions.
I think what this administration believes in is competition and innovation. We believe in regulation. We want to set clear rules of the road and make sure that investors are protected, customers are protected, and that our markets are well functioning.
The proposed rules will now face a 90-day public comment period. In Washington, Connor Hansen, Fox Business.
The hazardous material incident at the Pentagon today was apparently a false alarm. Air quality sensors detected an issue at the Pentagon this morning, causing some staff to shelter in place while the incident was investigated. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell said in a statement, quote, "Subsequent testing confirmed no hazard exists and normal operations have resumed," end quote. He also thanked first responders for their quick action to help protect all personnel. A biotech firm focused on heart disease goes public. Fox Business Network's Jerry Willis has a look at that story and more in today's Fox Means Business.
markets spiking higher for your Thursday. All three major indexes closing more than 1.5% higher on the heels of President Trump announcing a peace deal with Iran. Cardigan, a clinical stage biotech firm focused on heart disease, is going public. The company targeting a valuation of up to $1.4 billion in its debut on the NASDAQ under ticker KARD. The New Jersey-based company is looking to raise up to $373 million to advance 3 late-stage cardiovascular drugs, including treatments for genetic heart muscle disease, aortic valve stenosis, and severe high blood pressure. The Wall Street Journal reports OpenAI is considering slashing prices as it braces for what could become an all-out price war with rival Anthropic. At issue is the cost of, quote, tokens, the unit AI companies use to bill customers. Corporate executives have started pushing back hard on AI costs, with some companies like Uber already maxing out their 2026 AI budgets. Citigroup is rolling out a new way for wealthy and institutional clients to buy shares in private companies. The bank is using blockchain to put names like SpaceX and Anthropic essentially right next to someone's Apple stock through tokenization. The launch comes as Wall Street looks to profit from a wave of blockbuster IPOs on the horizon. The platform will first open to foreign investors, but Citi plans to expand it to U.S. investors later. That's business. I'm Jerry Willis.
And coming up next, we have your full 5-day forecast.
After a few rumbles of thunder out there this evening, we're going to stay pretty quiet throughout tonight, but for tomorrow, we do got more showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. What time are these storms going to arrive for tomorrow? We'll have those answers coming right up.
No visit to Down East Maine is complete unless you have your picture taken with Wilbur the Lobster. Ruth and Wimpy's Restaurant in Hancock is always doing it upright for lunch and dinner with huge portions and wimpy prices. Ruth and Wimpy's Restaurant, 792 U.S. Highway 1.
Jado Highlands Golf Course, nestled in the woods of Lincoln, just a short drive from Bangor or Holton. Designed for players of all abilities, Jado features everything a golfer desires. 18 fully irrigated holes, driving range, practice green, and a golf shop with instruction available. Jado maintains quality course conditions while proudly displaying some of the most scenic views in Maine. Challenge yourself to a round of golf surrounded by the beauty of Maine at Jado Highlands Golf Course.
Need a driveway paved or an entire road surfaced? Give Eaton Paving and Excavation a call. Eaton Paving offers a full line of excavation packages, from new home projects to new and replacement septics and driveways. We also install new shoreland and do shoreland repairs. Our operators have more than 75 years combined experience, and we have been delivering quality, professional service for nearly 3 decades. We strive to exceed your expectations. Give us a call today at 207-348-5630 or visit us at EatonPaving.com.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
No visit to Down East Maine is complete unless you have your picture taken with Wilbur the Lobster. Ruth and Wimpy's Restaurant in Hancock is always doing it upright for lunch and dinner with huge portions and wimpy prices. Ruth and Wimpy's Restaurant, 792 U.S. Highway 1.
Let's go get this big money.
Know the song faster than Shazam and win. Feud Shazam returns July 28th on Fox.
Thank you very much. Tonight's weather is brought to you by Da Vinci Signs. From interior and exterior signage, signage packages, and vehicle wraps to illuminated signs, LEDs, and electronic message boards. We're all about making your business visible with innovative signage designed for impact. All right, as we saw there for today, nice and toasty here in Bangor, 86 degrees for us, 88 in Millinocket, same for Presque Isle, and you saw 89 in Freiburg out there for today as well. A lot of us in the low to mid 80s to the southwestern portion of the state, but that sea breeze along the coastline did keep a few of us cooler. 72 in Machias, 77 for you in Bar Harbor out there this afternoon, but many of us are staying pretty warm out there for tonight. Will we have lows near 70? Some of us can possibly do that, but I expect a low to mid 60s for many of us, especially here in the Bangor area, and that can be due to those sea breeze temperatures as well. Some of us in the mid to upper 50s along the coastline for tonight, while the rest of us stay much warmer. Into tomorrow, though, we are going to see this warmth get used up by scattered showers and thunderstorms. We can look to reach into the low 80s again here in Bangor. Same for Millinocket, Munson, you get the idea. But then we will cool off rather quickly throughout the day as we get more cloud cover and some thunderstorms in the area. The good news is they do look to stay non-severe, but we'll cover that here in a second. Let's talk about the temperatures throughout this week. We're still looking to stay warm into your Saturday, looking at mid to upper 80s then and right around 80 for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then we come back down to earth, back to average for Wednesday and Thursday. Those highs then right around the low to mid 70s. So we will see a slightly cooler temperature trend going into next week. But winds out there for tonight are going to stay pretty light out there. We'll have some areas of dense fog, so you got to be careful if you're driving on the roads for tonight. Do not use those high beams. But into tomorrow afternoon, a little bit of wind can return. We can see gusts up to 20 miles per hour at times. This may be pretty tough to do, but check out your coastline. Not much wind out there along the coastline for tomorrow. This may help you out with those sea breeze temperatures, but still we had a light wind for today and still saw those cooler temperatures along the coastline. As we go into your Saturday, the winds look to be much lighter, especially during the early morning hours. So here we are looking at the radar for tonight. Those thunderstorms fizzled out earlier. Now we're looking at some isolated chances for showers up north, maybe even a few rumbles of thunder early on for Presque Isle. But here we are for the afternoon hours, right around 2 to 4 o'clock is when we're going to see those thunderstorms begin to pop up just to the west and north of Bangor. I do think some of this model analysis pushed us north recently. I still think Bangor can have a good chance for some thunderstorms in the area during the afternoon for tomorrow. If we don't see those thunderstorms and they do stay north, there will be a line of showers that can have some thunder in it, but it will be losing energy into the overnight hours. So mainly just some rain showers that'll pass by right around midnights and will be in the clear heading into your Saturday. High pressure fills in, plenty of sunshine and warmer temperatures then to start off the weekend. So for tonight, we're having another warm night. Lows in the low to mid 60s. A few showers north of town, otherwise partly cloudy and dry for tonight with those calm winds and areas of dense fog. For tomorrow, we'll have highs back in the low 80s. We do have a better chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms out there. Again, they do look to stay non-severe, but some of those can have some heavy downpours and some gusty winds with them. But outside of that, the winds look to stay pretty light from the southeast, right around 5 to maybe 15 miles per hour in some spots. So here's a look at your extended forecast. Everything's going to clear out Saturday, 87 degrees then, but we will fall back into the low 80s with cloud cover Sunday and a few showers later on in the day. But we dry out Monday into Tuesday, highs then in the upper 70s and low 80s. Beth?
Chase, thank you so much. Folks, hang in there for sports. It's coming up next.
Come to AMHG Works on Saturday, June 13th for Sasquatch Meet and Greet Day. Miss Sassy Sasquatch will be here with her friend Melanie the Moose for pictures with you and the family. Only at AMHG Works, 36 Springer Drive, Bangor from 12 to 3 p.m. See you there.
I got hurt by a big truck. Why did I call the twos? Because life-changing injuries deserve life-changing money. We got a client who broke multiple bones in a commercial vehicle accident, $700,000. Call the twos. We win for you.
Are your basement walls bowing, crumbling, or failing? Hi, I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basementy. Our Stable Lock wall system offers a patented, affordable, and permanent solution to save your foundation walls. It stabilizes, fills voids, and structurally repairs, leaving a new smooth surface. All the strength of new walls. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
Cancer affects everyone, but there is hope at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center's Champion the Cure Challenge, where every dollar raised helps patients in our own backyard. Make a difference. Walk, run, or cycle August 15th in Brewer. Visit ctcchallenge.org.
Come to AMHG Works on Saturday, June 13th for Sasquatch Meet and Greet Day. Miss Sassy Sasquatch will be here with her friend Melanie the Moose for pictures with you and the family. Only at AMHG Works, 36 Springer Drive, Bangor from 12 to 3 p.m. See you there.
12 celebrities get schooled.
Spell guarantee. G-A. Oh, it's G-U.
Who will be the nation's dumbest? Premieres July 15th on Fox.
Folks, Stanley Cup Finals Game 5 is going down right now over on ABC. The series is tied 2 games apiece. We'll have the full highlights for you later on ABC. But right now, the score is 4-2 Carolina Hurricanes. And we'll go to playoff baseball now and bring you some early highlights. We've got number 5 Old Town making the short drive to Herman to take on the number 4 seeded Hawks. It was 90 degrees and sunny for this one in Herman today. This one starts right here in the first inning. Hawks already up 1-0, and they extend that lead when Mason Kinney smacked one. Sam Hopkins runs it in to make it 2-0. Old Town closes out the top of the inning with a nice little cleanup there, and then they throw it to first for the out. But then Kinney returns the favor. 3 quick strikeouts, and Herman is back up to bat. After 2 outs, Julian Duddy makes a wonderful play, stopping the hit with his foot. He then throws it to first to end the frame. But in the 3rd inning, that's where the Hawks took off. Tommy Meserve hits this one high into the air. The tough ball, and Connor McLean gets home. Then it's Kinney up to bat again. This one he hits into the outfield. Hopkins and Meserve run it in. The Hawks advance with a 6-0 win. Over to a picturesque night at Mansfield Stadium where number 3 Bangor hosted number 6 Mount Blue. We pick it up in the 3rd. Bangor up 3. The lefty, Matthew Turcotte, was dealing. He got 2 punch-outs in a row to start the inning. And then to end the inning, he catches a runner stealing. We've got ourselves a rundown. Bangor gets out of the inning quickly. Bottom half now, Owen Glanville-True hits a grounder to second, but it's just enough to score. Jacob Harvey and the Rams take a 4-0 lead. Next inning, Cougars have a runner on, but the Rams turn the double play as their infield was showing off all game long. Great play there. That Mountain Blue defense was flashing the leather. Oliver Cormier comes up and picks the liner out of the air, but the Rams had full control. This one, Turcotte again with the punch out. As the Rams win 5-0. They'll take on number 2 Mount Ararat in the A North semis. We go next door to Hamden Academy now, where the 4-seeded Broncos took on the 5-seed Messalonskee Eagles. Broncos were on it early in the bottom of the 1st. Wyatt Allen drives one to the outfield, and Rogan Lord turns the Jets on and rounds 3rd as Hamden Academy opens the scoring shortly after. Drew McKinney grounds out to short, but he does a job scoring Lord, and the Broncos put up 2 runs early on. The Eagles pitcher, though, Finn Minkle, would put a stop to the scoring with a strikeout to end the inning. And that is going to be Lord showing off the arm on defense now. He's going to pop up and gun down the stealing Eagle at second base. Bottom of the 3rd now. Jacob Kelly's going to find a gap with just a beautiful hit. And this one is rolling deep. That is going to bring a runner from first all the way around. That's Ben Oliver. Get on your horse, kid. He scores. And the Broncos roll to a 10-0 win. They'll take on top-seeded Oxford Hills in the A North semis. Let's take a look at some other playoff scores from around the area on Thursday. Staying with baseball, MDI getting the win over Nokomis in Class C. Baseball, we got Dexter PCHS getting the win over Sumner. Down to Class D, Bangor Christian hanging 16 on Hodgson. And then staying in Class D, it's Katahdin taking down Machias 4-3. Over to softball, we've got a couple upsets there. And then we got Old Town with a win over Lawrence. Holton with an upset win over Mattanock Academy. That one is huge. Central with a win over Washington Academy. That one equally is huge. Then in Class C softball, Bucksport avoids the upset 11-10 against Winslow. You love to see competitive baseball and softball this time of year. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. Be right back after the break.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Let's head for Maine.
Let's see if this hybrid Camry can make it on one tank.
The Sox are at Fenway.
Can we go?
Nope. Don't need gas. Not stopping.
The car may not have to stop, but I do.
Stop less and save more. Lease a 2026 Camry SE Hybrid for $499 a month for 36 months.
The Camry can make it over 600 miles. Spencer, not so much. When you're ready to go the distance, all roads lead to Down East on Wilson Street in Brewer.
A few weeks ago, I went down to the basement to see what was happening with the boilers and opened the door, and there was about 12 to 14 inches of water in our basement. I knew who to call right away, and that was Bouchard. They were here within a half hour. They work well with our insurance company. They're very, very efficient, and all I have to do is call them any time of day. They're going to take care of me. Our business is our life, and that's why I don't hesitate to recommend them to other people.
Make your outdoor living space dreams come true with a little help from Granville Stone and Hearth.
Granville can help you go from this to this. Outdoor fireplaces, custom outdoor kitchens, gorgeous stone patios, and more. You bring the dreams, we'll supply the materials to make it all real. Create your stunning outdoor oasis with help from the experts at Granville Stone and Hearth, Main Road, Holden.
Fox Mondays.
Are you guys ready to play?
It's a night of big brains and big balls.
Let's get it on!
Host Joe McHale kicks things off with the 1% Club.
What happened? They missed little Joel.
Happens with my wife all the time.
Then make a splash as Jay Farrow hosts the Quiz with Balls.
Which of these are real schools?
I've dealt with a few clowns in my life. I swear they all go to the same school.
The 1% Club, followed by the Quiz with Balls, Mondays on Fox.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Your goal is to put items in the correct order before,
In between.
definitely after.
This is The Perfect Line. Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
This year's World Cup is the largest ever. There are 48 teams and 16 host cities across 3 countries. And fans have traveled far and wide to see their favorite teams play. Fox's Rebecca Castor has more from Los Angeles.
The World Cup opening match, Mexico versus South Africa, didn't disappoint when it came to the drama. And tomorrow, it's the U.S.'s turn. South Africa picked up not 1, but 2 red cards during Thursday's game, and playing with 2 men down led Mexico to easily pick up its first win of the tournament, 2-0. Fans expect this host country to go far.
I say quarterfinals.
No.
Get out of the group stage.
No, we are going to the semifinals. This is our year.
We're going to make it. I'm manifesting.
Friday, the U.S. team takes on Paraguay in Los Angeles.
The passion, the fans. I think it's going to be electric. I think the U.S. fans are going to get behind the team.
Their odds at advancing to the knockout stage are considered strong. The team is a mix of young and veteran players who have international playing experience, and they're helmed by their most experienced manager yet, Mauricio Pochettino.
I think the last 2 games, I think, allowed us to think and to feel that it's possible to do whatever we want and compete in our best and to compete with big teams.
Hosting the World Cup across 3 countries is a major security test. For the U.S., the biggest concern is the threat of hostile drones.
We've been able to ensure from a counter-UAS perspective is that all 78 of the matches will have counter-UAS mitigation coverage. What that means is counter-drone coverage from coming into the stadiums.
Each game played on American soil will have Super Bowl level security. That means multiple checkpoints, screening stations, K9 and sniper teams. In Los Angeles, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Kids are almost out of school, and some schools in Arizona are bringing alternatives to parents to keep youth active throughout the summer break. Fox's Annalisa Pardo has that story.
It's rackets up and eyes on the birdie at Shepherd Junior High School's girls badminton summer camp in Mesa.
You have to know teamwork because when you're playing doubles, you have to rely on your other teammate, and you have to know how to really see someone. You have to know their weaknesses, their strengths, how to win the game.
7th grade teacher and badminton coach Janae Zebel started up the summer camp.
Just how adaptable some of my preteens are. It's day 3 and they're already coming leaps and bounds from when we first started.
This is just one of the many summer camps offered by Mesa Public Schools, hoping to keep kids busy over summer break.
We'd rather them come out here and do some physical activity and, again, connect with their campus than stay at home and watch movies or Netflix or YouTube or things like that. So anything we can do to keep these kids engaged and get them out of the house to have some fun, what we're going to try to do.
Hoping they walk away with a love for the game and peers.
I just hope that they find something that they really enjoy and maybe meet some new people before the school year starts.
I really like Missy Bell and the other girls that play it because they're all just really including, and Missy Bell is just a really great coach.
The badminton girls summer camp runs through June 25th.
Definitely a great idea there for some summer fun and activity. Well, a partnership is trying to put books in the hands of kids to celebrate the end of the school year. Dirigo Reads and Governor's Restaurants are working together on that project. From 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. this coming Saturday, Dirigo Reads will be at all Governor's Restaurant locations to hand out free books for children ages 4 through 7 while the supplies last. Governors will also be donating 10% of proceeds from breakfast orders that morning to Dirigo Reads. Jason Clay is the owner of Governor's Restaurant and Bakery. He says he has seen the excitement when new books come into the classroom through his own son. Well, today, Bangor took another step toward becoming a more eco-friendly and pedestrian-friendly community. As our Alex Schley tells us, city officials say the effort is part of a broader plan to expand transportation options while also reducing emissions.
Tuesday, Bangor Public Works began installing nearly 50 new bike racks at locations across the city. The project is being funded through the state's Community Resilience Partnership program.
Pay for energy audits for city buildings, which we're working through right now, and then also installing bike racks basically all over the city, mainly downtown at the Cross Center, 5 different parks, and then we're sending bike racks to basically all of the schools.
Bangor Planning Officer Coulette says the project is part of an ongoing effort to make the city more sustainable while encouraging alternative forms of transportation.
When you ride a bike, instead of driving a car, you're going to have much fewer emissions. Besides, the effect on climate change, it also contributes less to air pollution.
Coulette says the benefits extend beyond the environment.
We're really trying to provide, enable people to use alternative modes of transportation. Because besides the climate aspect of it, some people have to do that. It's getting harder and harder to afford to drive a car.
In addition to nearly the 50 bike racks being installed across the city, officials are also planning a secure bike storage area at the Pickering Square parking garage.
We'll be app enabled, so you have to, it'll be a very small fee, like $1 a day. You just pay on the app and then you can go in and lock up your bike, so a little more secure.
Coulette says the city hopes to have all the bike racks installed in the coming weeks. However, it could be until fall before residents are able to use the new bike cage. In Bangor, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Definitely a great idea there to help expand those transportation options and just give folks the option to be a little more active and do some more physical activity while getting where they need to go. So a neat option there. Alrighty, folks, that is going to do it for us. From everyone here at Fox 22 News, take care and have a great rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow.
You know Matt pretty well. Did he give you any advice?
He said that I should use 26 words or more.
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
We're lucky to live in Maine. We have a wealth of natural resources, hardworking people, and time for the things that matter. Mechanical Services is all about Maine, with energy efficiency that protects our environment and helps businesses grow. Preventive maintenance and energy solutions that save money. How Maine is that? Mechanical Services. We're everywhere you are in Maine.
Nothing runs like a deer.
And Greenway Equipment Sales makes it easy to keep your John Deere running smoothly year-round. Our mobile maintenance truck will come to you and service most walk-behind and riding lawn equipment right in your yard. Just call or schedule online. Whatever the season, we'll have you tuned up, sharpened up, and geared up to mow or blow whatever Mother Nature dishes up. Contact the Smith Brothers today for service delivered.
Nothing runs like a deer. From Greenway Equipment Sales, family owned and operated since 1994.
Webb's RV Center has a 4-acre lot with over 75 previously owned campers all on sale, plus another 4 acres of new RVs and motorhomes. Webb's RV will take anything in trade. You can buy a camper anywhere, but be sure to buy your next camper at your local neighbor. A website can't service your RV, but Webb's RV will. And they have the biggest service department in the state of Maine to help you enjoy your RV or motorhome.
So come on down, neighbor. The coffee pot's on and the pencil is sharp.
Maine may be a small state, but we face big challenges, and Senator Susan Collins delivers solutions. When our veterans were left out in the cold, Susan Collins secured $3.6 million to help end veteran homelessness. And Collins co-sponsored the bill to protect military spouses' survivor benefits and provide rural veterans access to VA.
His 10-year-old son. Details tonight.
This is ABC 7.